To have a soul that burns is to know that life was never meant to be hoarded or spent in the tepid comfort of a bourgeois existence. Before the war, we lived in a world of soft beds, easy words, and predictable Sundays. But for many of us, our hearts were stifling in that lukewarm atmosphere. We felt a restlessness that could not be silenced by wealth or security. We sought the heights, the vertical path that leads to the peaks of ultimate sacrifice. We knew that a life without risk is a life without meaning, alive, when he is prepared to die for something greater than himself. We were not seeking the hollow glory that the world offers, nor the medals that are tarnished with time. We were seeking the raw truth within our own burning souls. The earth cannot endlessly contain the life of its hidden springs. They must eventually pour forth with a force that sweeps everything away. And so we poured forth into the vast, unknown distances of the East, driven by a faith that the materialistic world could never comprehend. We were volunteers of the Spirit, seeking the great forge of the front where the dross of our lives, the petty concerns, the vanity, the fear, would be burned away in the heat of battle. We wanted to leave behind only the pure, hard steel of the soul. In the heavy silence of our departure, as the trains pulled away from the familiar stations of Europe, we knew that we were finally embarking on the only journey that truly mattered, the journey toward the absolute. We were no longer mere citizens. We were warriors of an idea, ready to face the void, to find the light. For us, the war was not a tragedy, but a spiritual necessity, a chance to prove that the spirit is more powerful than the flesh. We marched towards the horizon, where the sky met the infinite, and we felt, for the first time, that our lives had weight and purpose. This was the beginning of our epic, the moment the soul took flight from the cage of the ordinary. We were the burning souls of a generation that refused to settle for less than the infinite. As the smoke of the engine filled the night air, we looked at the lights of the city one last time, and we knew we were trading the mundane for the eternal. This was the vertical path, and though it was steep and paved with stone, it was the only path that led to the peaks. The Russian winter is not merely a season. It is a profound spiritual judgment. It is a force that strips a man of everything he once thought was essential: his warmth, his pride, his very sense of self. In the frozen immensity of the steppes, under a sky of pale, lethal gold, and a cold so intense it seems to crack the very air, we learned the true meaning of poverty. We lived in a world where the horizon was a blur of white, and the wind was a constant, howling predator. We slept in the deep snow, our bodies huddled together in shallow holes for a warmth that never truly came. Hunger became our most faithful companion, a sharp, invisible blade twisting constantly in the gut. Every movement was an ordeal, every breath a struggle against the freezing air that sought to turn the lungs to ice. But in this extreme suffering, in this stripping away of every physical comfort, something extraordinary and terrifying happened. The soul, no longer weighed down by the trivialities of the flesh, began to shine with a clarity that we had never known in the world of the living. We saw that the real enemy was not the soldier in the opposite trench, nor the tanks that rumbled across the plains. The real enemy was the weakness within ourselves, the urge to surrender, to lie down in the snow and let the sleep of death take us, to endure the unendurable, to keep moving when every nerve is screaming for rest, is the greatest victory a man can ever achieve. In the biting frost of the Ukraine, we were tempered like ancient blades in a furnace of ice. We learned that the human spirit can triumph over the most sickening living conditions, over the weariness that gnaws at the bone, and over the dark fear that whispers in the night. We were burning souls in a vast, indifferent world of ice, and the fire within us, the fire of our conviction and our brotherhood, was more powerful than the winter that sought to extinguish it. Each day survived was a testament to the resilience of the soul. We discovered that when everything else is gone, food, warmth, hope, there remains a core of light that cannot be put out. This was the forge of the East, where we were broken and remade into something harder and more enduring than the men who had left Europe months before. We were the witnesses of the absolute, standing in the middle of a white desert, and we knew that we had found something that the safe world would never understand. We had found the limit of the human, and we had stepped beyond it. The cold was our master, but it was also our teacher, stripping us of the vanity of the world and leaving us with nothing but our faith and our brothers. In that frozen purgatory, we were finally stripped bare, and in our nakedness, we found a strength that nothing in this world could ever break. We were the fire in the frost, the only warmth in a universe of ice. There is a sacred bond that is forged only in the presence of death. It is the silent, unspoken language of the front, a look shared between two men in a freezing trench who know, with absolute certainty, that they may not live to see the sunrise. In the suffocating mud of the Donets and the roaring fire of the Cherkasy pocket, we found a brotherhood that transcended words and defied description. It was a bond, not of blood, but of shared destiny. I remember the eyes of my comrades, eyes that had stared into the very mouth of the abyss, and yet remained clear, focused, and filled with a strange, quiet light. When a friend falls in the snow, a part of your own being dies with him, but his spirit remains, woven forever into the fabric of the unit. We did not speak of love or affection. Those words were too small for the reality we lived. We lived that love in the sharing of a dry crust of bread, in the firm, reassuring grip of a hand during the height of a heavy barrage, and in the quiet, desperate vigil over the wounded in a dark cellar. This is the sacred camaraderie of the volunteer. It is a love that asks for nothing, expects nothing, and yet gives everything. These were real men, trod upon by the world, misunderstood by the masses, and yet they stood tall, amidst the ruins of a collapsing civilization. Their names may be forgotten by the history books, their faces lost to time, but they are engraved forever in the eternal light of the Spirit. We were a community of the suffering, bound together by a faith that was stronger than the steel of the enemy's tanks. In the midst of the most horrific carnage, in the smell of cordite and the sound of iron meeting iron, we found a peace that the peaceful world will never know. It was the peace of those who have given everything and therefore have nothing left to fear. We looked at each other and we knew we were no longer individuals. We were a single soul, a single flame burning against the encroaching night. That brotherhood was our only true home, a sanctuary of honor in a world of chaos. Even now, in the silence of memory, I can feel the presence of those men, the ghosts of the front who taught me that the highest form of human existence is to live and die for your brother. Their sacrifice was not in vain, for it created a light that still burns in the darkness of the modern age. We were the legion of the Spirit, the guardians of a flame that the world tried to put out. In every shared ration, in every night watch, we were building something eternal. This was the sacred camaraderie, the only thing that made the madness of the war bearable. We were brothers of the soul, and that bond is stronger than death itself. The end brought defeat in the eyes of the world, but it did not bring surrender to the spirit. We returned from the edge of the world with our dreams mangled, our ranks decimated, and our flags trailing in the mud of 1,000 battlefields. But as we crossed the final borders, our souls remained unbowed and our hearts remained unbroken. The world may judge us with its petty scales, the mediocre may hate us for the heights we dare to climb, but they can never take away the grandeur of the journey we undertook. For true grandeur is never found in the victory of arms or the occupation of territory. It is found only in the victory of the spirit over its own limitations. We fought for a Europe of the faith, for a civilization of the depth and the soul, and though the darkness of a new age has fallen over the continent, the light we carried still flickers in the hearts of those who refuse to settle for the lukewarm. To the youth of the future, those who feel the same restlessness we felt, I say this: do not settle for a life without fire. Do not be content with the easy path of the masses. Look for the difficult path, the path of the volunteer, the path of the burning soul. For hate eventually dies, suffocated by its own smallness and spite. But the virtues won in the depths of sorrow and sacrifice are eternal. We were defeated in the physical realm, yes, but in that very defeat we found a glory that no victor in history can ever truly claim. It is the glory of having stood when everything else fell. The sun will one day spring again from the dark night of the soul, and the virtues of the real men who stood firm in the Russian steppes will shine forth once more to light the way. Our epic is not over. It is a timeless testament to the eternal spirit of man, unbowed by circumstances, unbroken by pain, and forever burning with the desire for the absolute. We are the shadows that walk the front of history, reminding the world that man is more than his shadow, more than his biology. He is a spark of the divine, capable of turning the greatest tragedy into a spiritual triumph. Keep the fire burning, for as long as one soul remembers, the front is never truly lost. Our legacy is not in the ground we held, but in the fire we passed on. We were the burning souls, and though our bodies are gone, our light remains, a beacon for all those who seek the peaks. The journey is never over, for the soul is eternal. Stand fast, keep the faith, and let your soul burn with the fire of the Absolute. For in that fire we are reunited, and in that light we are forever victorious. Our story is your story. Our front is your front. The burning soul never dies.